Happy Thanksgiving long weekend. I've pulled over here to do my video. I'm going to give you a preview of the inflation announcement that comes out on Tuesday. As per usual, I'm going to give you what the RBC has to say, and then I'm going to tell you what I think. And I'm going to show you why I disagree. First up, the forward guidance from the RBC. Yesterday we saw the US inflation. It had an upside surprise. It was a little bit more the consensus. The RBC is saying that our inflation will come in at 1.8%. And I'm thinking it's going to be less. For a while, I've been thinking 1.5, 1.6. I'm going to settle on 1.6. And let me show you why. Let's face it, the main reason is because of gasoline prices. Gasoline was really cheap in September compared to September of last year. But also, Canada's rent growth slows as international student enrollment drops. It's a report from rentals.ca, and it says the average asking rents for all property types across the country just saw their slowest rate of growth since October of 2021. Largely due to falling international student enrollment. As I've been reporting for months now, the government went overboard with temporary residents to drive down wage growth. Now that they need that wage growth to go back up to help push inflation upwards, all these people are being sent back. And I will repeat, as much as the Canadian government likes to say it was quote-unquote bad actors, it was the Canadian government. They opened the doors, they pushed for this. They got exactly what they asked for. Point is, rent growth is slowing down. That's bringing down inflation. And on top of that, the number one driver of inflation for the last 2 years has been mortgage interest cost. As the rates get cut, mortgage interest cost drops. We also know the Canada bond has been dropping, and that drops mortgage cost. Our biggest drivers of inflation are mortgage interest, rent, and gasoline. With mortgage interest and rent growing slower and gasoline being cheaper, we should be at 1.6%. And I will remind you that is near the bottom end of the Bank of Canada's target 1 to 3% range, 2% being in the middle, the optimum point. Faster move to neutral rate could help Bank of Canada fend off below target inflation. Now remember, the report that's coming out on Tuesday is for September's inflation. And we're in October. When the report comes out on Tuesday saying it's 1.6 or even 1.8, just remember that was last month. We were below target 1 month ago. Guess where we are for October? That's right, to help save the economy, the Bank of Canada has to get to the neutral rate as soon as possible. What does the Bank of Canada say the neutral rate is right now? It's right there, 2.25% to 3.25%. So 1 to 2% below where we are right now. But you will recall, the United States likes to calculate the neutral rate, or the natural rate of interest, R star. A little reminder of where the United States needs to be right now. Google that title right there, click on this first tab, and it gives you this graph. This is the U.S. natural rate of interest, and it is currently at 1.22%. Then click on that tab right there. It gives you the natural rate of interest for the U.S., Canada, and the Eurozone. Turn off the US, turn off the Eurozone, and just leave Canada. Makes it easier to find. The natural rate of interest for Canada at the start of Q2 was 1.45%. As a reminder, we've just entered Q4. So the Bank of Canada's high end for the neutral rate is 3.25%, which means we got to cut 1% as soon as possible. According to the United States in this calculation, we need to cut 3% as soon as possible. Any way you slice it, Tuesday's report is going to be below 2%, and they're going to start freaking out. Because they know what I've been telling you for the last 2 years. When they start cutting the interest rate, the inflation rate is going to go down. That's right, as I've been saying for the last 2 years. As they've been pumping the rate, it's been pushing the inflation upward. Now that they're cutting the rate, it's going to be pushing the inflation downward. And we're going to be around 1.5%. And even if you don't believe me, the economists and mathematicians at the US Fed are saying the same thing. Tiff Macklem has put Canada into a very precarious position. And the stress is going to show.